The funnest aspect of having autism is never knowing what I'm about to hyperfixate on. It could be a video I'm working on, trains, big T, goth GFs, or gaming. I am very specific on what I like to play, and if I'm not immediately hooked on the game, I probably won't pick it up again. But when I do find a game I like, I play it until I'm sick of it. The most recent game I've been autistically playing is a game called Apocalypse Party. It dropped less than a month ago and I've been hooked. The art style is great and the gameplay is pretty addictive. You kill hordes of enemies and progressively get more and more powerful with each level you reach. You start off with barely anything, but after a bit, you can turn the game into a Toho bullet hell. After a relatively slow early game, you can easily start to steamroll through the last boss if you get lucky with your talents and weapon drops. All you have to do is click the auto fire button and the game becomes pretty easy. The game will just shoot the gun for you. So that makes me wonder, can I beat the prologue and all 3 chapters without pressing the fire button? Let's find out. Before I select my character, let me break down the rules a little bit more. I am not allowed to press the right trigger on my controller or turn on the auto fire. After you beat a boss, you get access to an ultimate attack, and I will be allowed to use it. Because they have a relatively longer cooldown, and there are talents specifically made for sacred abilities, I think that they're balanced enough. I can't even get one until I beat the very first boss, so it's impossible to rely on it for the whole campaign. And there are some really cool strategies you can pull off with it if you get lucky enough. So now we need to pick the right character. There are currently 36 characters to choose from and each one has their own unique abilities. Do you only want to use exclusively guns? Well, pick the hero. Do you want a Dark Souls style dodge roll to help escape enemies' attacks? Choose the rogue. I could go in depth with all of these characters, but there's one character I want to look at for this challenge. I think the Forger is actually a pretty cool character. His first unique talent allows him to buff a singular weapon up to 6 times by destroying unused weapons. And his third talent allows him to craft a legendary weapon by destroying about 8 other weapons.
They see me rolling, they hating.
But his second talent is weird. By pressing LT, you can perform a large hammer strike that deals 1 damage, has very little knockback, and a long recovery. But if you strike a weapon you are not holding, it will attack enemies on its own for 8 seconds. Will this be enough to carry me through the whole campaign? Will I get super lucky? Will I finally get my big titty goth gamer girlfriend? Will Goku beat Frieza before Namek explodes? Let's find out the answer to at least 2 of these questions. So the overall goal of the prologue and chapters 1 through 3 are to activate 3 different altars, fight a boss, and enter a portal to fight Satan. You'd normally grab random weapons and attack with them, but we can't do that. As you can see, the hammer strike I can use only does 1 damage and leaves me extremely vulnerable. Even when I hit an enemy, I'm still recovering and I can still get hit. But when I hit a weapon in a crate, it can't attack for me. This is how I will gain experience and get my first level up. Here we can unlock talents that will make us stronger, tankier, and hopefully give us some allies, maybe even a summon or 2. I first selected a talent that boosted my movement speed to help me weave around enemies easier, and it could also deal frost damage without me pressing the attack trigger. So the game pulls the talents you choose from randomly at first, but if you have a lot of a specific tag, like Frost, the talents will then favor more abilities that have the same tags that you already have. My next level up gives me a talent that boosts my frost damage because my first talent was frost related. So we can kind of manipulate the talents we will use in each attempt. We just gotta get good luck at first. So as you level up, the game will start spawning different kinds of enemies, like this zombie who will throw spears at you from a distance. So now we have to worry about maneuvering around hordes of enemies while dodging a wide array of attacks. After a bit more attacking, my next talent will increase the amount of armor I have and adds frost damage to my melee attacks. But the hammer swings are not affected by this buff. For some reason, the game does not treat this hammer swing as a melee attack or as a piece of equipment. What I'm saying is that trying to invest in buffing the hammer swing itself would be pointless. We are able to speed up the attack of the swing itself, but making it deal actual damage is a pipe dream. My next talent proves this as I selected the one that buffed my frost damage and melee damage by 25%. But the swings are still only doing 1 damage, unless it crits and deals a whopping 2 damage. I choose to use 2 of my rerolls on my next level up, and I select another frost related talent. Now that I have hit level 6, I can challenge the first boss of the prologue, and it just so happens to be my least favorite boss. This boss will throw fireballs at you, spawn tornadoes that will cut off where you can move, and it will fly into the air and avoid some of your attacks. It's just a nuisance to fight. Thankfully, the basic enemies will keep spawning, so I'm able to level up mid-fight and get Toilet Chan to aid me. This piece of equipment will auto-fire some frost projectiles, so all I need to do is dodge the boss's attacks and we can slowly chip away at its health. But I'm not dodging all that well, I lose all of my armor. I get another level up and choose to spawn in a turret. Thankfully, the boss tends to stay in the same spot for a bit, so the turret can take a large chunk out of its health.
Now that's a lot of damage!
The boss teleports away, but our turret will teleport to our position as well, so it takes a bit longer and I take more damage, but we do manage to take it down. After you beat a boss, you can heal some health and armor, and you get access to 2 more rerolls for your talents. We also get to choose between 2 random sacred abilities, and I get the Frost Nova attack. It's powerful and can easily clear a large number of enemies, but it takes a while to recharge. It kills a lot of enemies when I use it, and my next level up will allow me to heal 3 HP when I'm not attacking. I literally couldn't ask for a more perfect talent for this run. We can hit all these other weapons and still heal while we wait to hit it again to reactivate it. We grind for a bit more and I reach level 12, so I book it to the next altar. The next boss, or bosses, are the Horsemen of Famine. There are 3 different bosses we have to kill, and each one uses a different weapon to attack with. They also have these houses that will suck you in, which is a pain in the ass. Our next level up gives us a chance to respawn a killed enemy as an ally, so that can help draw aggro off of us and our turret. But the houses ruin my movement, and a toilet and turret are not enough to take down the bosses, so the first attempt at the prologue ends at the second boss. So now I'm sure you have a better understanding of the game and the difficulty the challenge adds to it. From now on, I'm not going to talk about every single level up or every enemy I kill for the sake of time, so I can make this easier to edit. The second attempt started off pretty well. I managed to get 3 different pieces of equipment that can help us kill the enemies, and I realized that a good strategy to level up was to find a really good gun and constantly activate it in the same spot to grind out some enemies. Although I can't aim it, it will auto lock onto the enemies, so we can grind out some good levels by doing this. We reach level 6, and the boss we have to fight this time is the Ancient Titan, Tiny. This boss is normally really easy to fight. All you need to do is move around it, shoot it from far away. He doesn't really have many long ranged attacks, and the ones he does have can be dodged pretty easily. I level up in this fight, and I normally love getting the Shadow Warrior talent, but it doesn't mimic the LT Hammer Strike like I thought it would. So it's just gonna stand around doing nothing. At least if he swings his hammer, we'll have proof that I failed the run. You know, it takes a bit, but we do manage to take Tiny down. I use the gun strat to grind until I reach level 12, and one of my level ups allows me to pick up an item that refills 10% of my sacred ability. So now we have a reliable way to use a very powerful attack. That's pretty lucky. It turns out my good luck is balanced out a bit because we get the Raging Wind boss again. This time I have more than just the toilet, but it also has more health because it's the second boss this time. It takes a while, we take a lot of damage, but we do manage to beat it. The third boss we get is the Death Knight Headless Man. He's not too hard, but he's also able to set up a bubble that will make him invincible. You have to kill 1 or 2 enemies to remove this shield. I used my sacred ability at the wrong time, and he took no damage from it. And due to poor spacing and a horribly timed hammer strike, he beat me. This challenge isn't looking that good. There's gotta be something I'm missing. Whatever, I'll worry about that later. Our third attempt in the prologue starts off alright. We managed to find a gun for grinding, and some of the level ups gives us some summoned allies. This might be the strategy we need. Reroll as many times as we need and hope to get a lot of extra allies to aid us. By the time we hit level 6, I have a samurai, lightning giant, and 3 little pirates. But that's not the only thing I've got. I actually have a new strategy to try out. I didn't highlight this when I was fighting the Death Knight, but I realized you can actually manipulate the placements of the weapons by swapping them with another weapon. I can basically keep throwing the guns around until they're in the designated circle to fight the boss. We have to fight the Raging Wind boss for the third time, but it only managed to take out our shields. It was actually really easy. While I was grinding for some levels, it hit me. I don't have to stop at only one gun to juggle around. I can pick up and move any weapon I want. I am able to set up a constant barrage of bullets if I can position the weapons properly. It doesn't take long to reach level 12, and I realize I can still pick up the gun I like and carry it to the next altar to ensure I have some form of ranged damage. By the time I got to the next altar, I opened up a few crates and I got 3 guns into the arena. We have to fight the Horsemen of Famine again, but they go down so easily. By the time I got to the next altar, I had a dragon and I got a gun and an axe into the arena. Once again, we have to fight the Ancient Tiny. Although he has a lot more health, it's still really easy and he dies in less than a minute. Now we have to jump into the portal and fight Satan, but the fight in the prologue is unwinnable. We are supposed to die here, so that means we beat the first part of this challenge. So now that we have a game-winning strategy, I can speed through chapter 1. As you can see, I'm getting better at manipulating the weapons to be closer together. The hammer strike that activates the weapons has a really large range, so we can activate 3 or 4 weapons with just one swing. I was also starting to get a good feeling of how long the weapons would take to need another hit to activate them. We reach level 6, activate the altar, and completely shred the boss's health bar. Look at that! That is disgusting! I love it! Our next level up even turns us into Virgil from Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The next boss is the Horseman of Plague, and normally it's pretty easy. He's slow and you just shoot him from outside of his poison, but his poison is actually a really dangerous hazard this time. Because we have to go back to the weapons to activate them, we will take a lot of damage when we have to walk into the poison. It takes a while and I come really close to dying, but we do manage to beat him. I set up the next altar and we get a new boss this time. These two have the potential to be really difficult. If you manage to kill one of them, they will slowly start to fill up their health bar. I assume that if you fail to kill the second one in time, he will respawn at full health. Thankfully, RNG and skill are on my side, and we managed to beat them. Now we get to fight Satan for real. Something that is really cool is that all the weapons we gathered will actually be with us when we enter Hell. The fight with Satan can be tricky though. He will mess up your movement, be invincible during some of his attacks, and his attacks deal a lot of damage. But we managed to keep him on our weapons, and chapter 1 is finished on our first try. Chapter 2 starts off pretty good. The Horsemen of Famine go down pretty easily, and I've realized the difficult part of this challenge is getting everything set up. We have to get good RNG on weapon drops and getting them into the arena, good RNG on our talents, and good RNG on what bosses we fight. Sadly, I didn't play well, and I died to the Horseman of War boss. Our next attempt goes well. While I was setting everything up, I grabbed an AK-47 that I activated, and oddly enough, I was able to hold it after I made it start shooting, but the bullet count didn't go down because I was not holding the right trigger. I then started doing the weapon swap thing, but if you think this little hiccup invalidates this attempt, I understand. In fact, the game also understands this because shortly after beating the Dwarf King boss, the game crashed on me. The next attempt doesn't go too well. I didn't get lucky with my talents, and the second boss we had to fight was the Horseman of Plague. But in chapter 2 and 3, he splits into 2 different bosses, both of which can set up the poison rings. I died while I was trying to set up my weapons. I'm not going to really waste your time on the next attempt because I ended up dying to the second boss. I thought I could kill the Headless Man with my sacred ability, but he barely lived and killed me for it. I managed to get my act together on the next attempt. The Raging Wind boss goes down pretty well, and I got a lot of extra armor. The Horseman of War gets absolutely destroyed, but the next fight with the Six Seal duo comes down to the wire. We were so close to dying, but I played it smart and let my summons finish off the boss. All that's left is Satan, and with a full arsenal of guns and 2 dragons, I doubt he'll stand any chance. It took a bit, but I eventually manipulated him into standing right on top of the weapons, and I shred his health bar. However, he gets a second phase in chapter 2. Although it looks intimidating, his attacks aren't too scary. Just keep moving and you'll be able to dodge it all. When he gets to half health, he starts the second part of phase 2, but he only stays in the center of the arena. I managed to get my guns right in the middle and were able to deal a lot of damage. but Satan can also deal a lot of damage while I was trying to activate my guns. We're brought down to just 3 HP by dash in, reactivate my weapons, and we get the kill. That's chapter 2 down, guys. All that's left is chapter 3. Alright, it's time to take on the final chapter. Like with most games, the very last chapter of the game will be the hardest. The map gets a little bit larger with each chapter. I don't know if these new areas change the drop rates with weapons, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter though, is the basic enemies get more HP and deal more damage in chapter 3. So getting the momentum we need in the early game can be pretty tricky. I didn't get the best RNG with my weapons at first. They were all melee weapons, but with a little adjustment I made it work. Some enemies will spawn with buffs in chapter 3, and here you can see that we have to fight an enemy with a healing buff. Normally you target him for just a few seconds, but we can't do that. It takes a bit, but I managed to take him down before he became a real nuisance. The fight with the first boss wasn't too clean, but I did get a talent that can deal lightning damage after I take damage, so I played a little bit aggressive to beat the boss. I probably would have died against the Death Knight boss, but I got pretty lucky with the next talent giving me a bunch of extra armor. After a bit he goes down. The final boss is the Horseman Trio. I did die in the fight, but early on I selected a talent that would restore my HP if I would have died, so I was smart in choosing that. They all go down and it's time for the final bout with Satan. He stands no chance. Okay, he did get hit on me during phase 1, but it's all good. It's all okay. Yeah, so it turns out Satan deals a lot of damage. We were so close, I know that this is possible. The next attempt has a fantastic start. Good weapon drops, we get Shifu again, and the Dwarf King boss dies extremely fast. I accidentally started the next boss while I was trying to manipulate the weapons, but Shifu is a legendary summon for a reason. I had to stall to get my sacred ability ready to go so I could take out a healing enemy. I did manage to get a gun into the arena though, so we were able to deal consistent damage to the Raging Wind boss. It takes a bit, but we managed to get the win. The fight with the 6 Seal duo gets pretty close, but we managed to kill them before they could revive. Alright, it's time for the last fight with Satan. Phase 1 goes great, but I know phase 2 is where it gets hard. If I slip up once, that could be my death. He can easily deal 40 to 50 damage in one attack, so I'm going to die in just 2 hits. He takes out my armor, and then he starts spawning in shadow versions of the previous bosses that we had to fight. He summons the Raging Wind boss, and I do die. But I picked a talent that will instead destroy a piece of equipment and then restore my HP instead of killing me. I stick to Satan and make sure my weapons are attacking, and then we get the win. I proved that you can beat all chapters in Apocalypse Party without attacking. With the right trigger, of course. Thank you so much for watching my video, and even more thanks need to go to my TISM Wranglers. Those amazing people who choose to support me, you guys are what keep me going. I hope you had fun with this video. Please tell me in the comments what you liked most about this challenge, and if you have any other fun ideas for me to try. I hope you all have a great day. I'll catch you guys in the next video.